We're doing well. Welcome to Cooped Up Live. Shit, I say. My daily-ish broadcast. I just talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about while we are waiting on folks to join. CookedUp.com is my website. You can check that out anytime. I have a plan for creating more content, I promise. I also promise that I say that all the time. I'm Cooped Up is my handle in all the social places. Would love to follow wherever you are, wherever you listen to this, wherever you like to place, particularly on Instagrams. I'm Cooped Up is that handle. And wherever you watch or listen to this, also, it's on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, as well as rebroadcast in audio format on all the major podcasting platforms. Would love it if you click the bell, subscribe, whatever it is, so that you never miss a second of the fun. And also, please play along. Love questions if you're watching the live broadcast, comments, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to tell you this. So the last 5 days, I guess you could say, have been like draining my body of every possible tier it could muster, could manufacture, could do all of that. Hey, Monica, you're the first one. You beat Mama today. So I haven't been live since Wednesday because Thursday I was emotionally exhausted Thursday. Friday, I think I just lost track of time, and then obviously the weekend sit in. But I'm going to tell you how all of that went down. So Thursday was Mason's graduation from the Kessler School, 8th grade graduation. He'll be moving up to a new high school next year. And they had this award ceremony beforehand. And it's also just sidebar, or not sidebar, kind of equal footing here, have they have been I lost my train of thought. Sorry. It was also the last time our school will be having those ceremonies at our current campus because we are moving campuses in the coming weeks. Anyway, and I've been leading that project, and just when I think it's getting easier, it gets harder. And then just when I think it's getting harder, it gets easier. We've been 10 minutes away for the last 2 hours, and I'm ready for it to be over with and done, as is everybody else. So it was like a lot of bittersweet moments at this awards ceremony, right? And so they bring out all the kids. Well, first we get there, and I knew I was going to cry. I came prepared. I brought a little package of Kleenexes. I knew that we were sitting in the first row, all of that kind of stuff. So I had the lay of the land. So we're going in. We get in. It starts at 10 a.m. We go in, sit, and I tell you, my butt has not even hit the cushion of the pew, because we're currently in a church, of the pew of the Methodist, Kessler Park United Methodist Church, and tears start running down my face. And at first, it's just like a little misty-eyed, and then someone comes up, one of the teachers, and it's like, okay, here's how the graduation service is going to go, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like trying to hold it together. I can see no one's wanting to look at me. That is the number one rule of my sister Monica subscribes to this, all of this. When I start going into emotional meltdown, just do not look at me, because I am a take no prisoners. I drag everyone else goes down with the ship, right? And so I know at my granddaddy's funeral, I was just like arm over the end of the pew, just like inconsolable, and everyone's like, just look the other way. They put me on the far end of the pew too. But so this one, though, so they do all this stuff. So first they bring me up and they thank me for all the work I've done as board president and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm already starting to cry at this point, and the head of school is starting to cry. And I'm sure everyone's like, oh my God, this is going to be a long fucking 2 hours if this is just going to be a bunch of people crying. And it was not a long, it was a bunch of people crying for 2 hours though. So they graduate the kids or get awards, send them up to the next grade, all that kind of stuff, right? And so that was the first hour of it. The second hour of it, or 45 minutes or so, was the graduation of the 8th graders who are going to be, because our school only goes up to 8th grade. And it was so beautifully done, so kind, so sweet. The teachers gave specific speeches about each of the kids. And then the kids each gave speeches as well, and it was just so nice. And so Mason comes out, and I'm already crying, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Are you okay?" Like he like mouths that to me, and just kind of being jokey with me from the podium and all of that kind of stuff. And they gave us roses that we had to hand to the kids and all this kind of stuff. But the cherry on top of it all is that they made a video. They had asked us for photos throughout the years of the kids at the school, and Mason's been there for 10 years now. The longest you could possibly be there is 11 years. We were not there the first year of pre-K, but we got there the second year. But Mason's best friend Isabella had been there since that first time. But so they gave speeches. They made this video. So they solicited photos and videos from us that they put into this like thing that was broadcast, and it was oh God, I think it was another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Whatever that song is. Is that I can't think of who it is. And anyway, very emotional song. Hey mama, how you doing? So they this emotional song and this video. I'm literally in the front row and I can't see anybody else. If anybody else is crying, and at this point I'm just like like starting to heave. And Isabella's mom was sitting next to me. She was crying. Todd started crying. Todd was trying to record it and he kept shaking because he was crying. It was like, oh my God. By the end, I was like, my eyes were like, like I was dehydrated. Like I had to go drink an electrolyte drink afterwards. I've since learned that pretty much everybody in the audience cried, which made me feel better that I wasn't alone in crying. That went down, and they were crying either because it was like emotional and it was so nice and sweet and all of that. Also because a lot of them saw me crying so hard. And anyway, you thought I wasn't doing a cooped up live today due to the holiday. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was, but then I realized I hadn't been live since Wednesday, and I'm here, so it may not be a long one, but and you can always watch on the repeat. I'm just talking about crying. Just cried. And then to continue that line on Sunday, I went to church at Kessler Park United Methodist Church, which is the school's landlord. And it is where, like, if we do go to church, that is where we go. But they asked me and the head of school to be there because they wanted us to come up. It was so our lease ends at the end of the month. They wanted us to come up and they wanted to say a few words to us. They wanted us to say a few words to the congregation and have a prayer, all that kind of stuff. We'll get up there. And so we sit through the whole service, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But we get up to the front, and we're talking, and our head of school is much more used to this public speaking thing than I am. I do it here where there's no one looking at me. Like I'm just literally looking at a ring light and a dot on my computer and hoping that y'all think. It's different when it's like with a microphone and all that kind of stuff. Plus, that's a more serious situation. And you got Jesus watching and you got everybody watching, right? But so she gives her little speech about thanking them and all that kind of stuff. And then the pastor is like, now, Cooper, what would you like to say? And I'm like, first thing I say, I get very emotional. This week has been very emotionally draining. So, and I don't ever apologize for crying. Like I'm not one of those, I'm so sorry I'm crying. Because I don't feel sorry for crying. It is part of who I am. And I don't think there's any shame in it. It's just, it's funny. Like it's silly. It is ridiculous in some ways at the same time, all in the best possible way. But but so I get on the microphone and I'm talking about how gracious they've been to us, because our lease was actually supposed to expire like last summer, and because of building permit issues and product issues, like an elevator that we ordered like 2 Augusts ago is finally being installed starting today. I kid you not, almost 2 years ago we ordered this elevator, and so all just craziness. And so, but I start to get to the end of the speech, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head, and I can feel my voice starting to break, and I can feel, that feeling like when you can feel the floodwaters starting to rise. They haven't quite gone over the levee yet, but you're like, it's going to happen. It is definitely. And then you get this moment of realization. You're like, okay, it's going to happen. Like, do I bail or do I keep going, or like, what was I going to do? And so, and this is a room full of people who don't know me because I don't go to this church. I mean, I knew a lot of the people there, but not, it's like, I don't go to that church regularly. So there's a lot of strangers in the audience. Is basically what I meant to say. Whereas at school, I know most of the people. So I'm like, and I was like, okay. And with that, I need to stop. And everyone started laughing about that. So, and then Thursday night we went to Benihana. The kids had never been there. Mason's obsessed with Japan, has for his whole life. Don't know why, but just loves everything. Anything Japanese, Mason loves. But we had never been to a hibachi. And Benihana, is like the OG here. And so we went, and there was a couple of weird observations. First of all, hibachi is not cheap. Let's just start with that. And not that thought it was going to be cheap, but for the four of us to eat, it was about a $300 bill, right? It was fun and all of that, but it was about a $300 bill. A lot of food, and I'm not saying it's not worth it. It was just I'm just putting that flag in the sand because it relates to some of the other things that I'm about to say. But there were two observations that I had about eating at this Benihana restaurant that just shocked me. One of them, so if you're not aware, hibachi is this thing where you've got the grill in front of you and you sit like 8 people in a horseshoe, usually sit with another group of people. We had, and actually it was 10 seats, but we had 4 and 4. So there was 2 seats in between our groups. And then the chef comes out and like does like little silly things and does a volcano and like flips the shrimp and it lands in his toque and all that kind of stuff, right? And but we're looking around the room and you can see all of the different stations too. It was shocking to me the number of people, grown-ass people, adults, with their friends who were all like this. Not recording it, just playing, swiping, like that. Because for 2 reasons. 1, you're at dinner with your friends. Don't be doing that. 2, it's expensive as fuck, so don't be doing that. And 3, it's a show. It'd be different if you were just waiting on the waiter to bring your iced tea and a plate of something. But they're literally making it in front of you with all kinds of theatrics. And they weren't recording it either. It was just like staring at their phones. Shocked me on so many levels about that. And then the other thing that was surprising to me is, and this is something I just complain about generally, and I think, and this is not something that I complain about more as an older person than I did as a younger person. I just want to know, when did people stop dressing nicely for things? Like, when did that just go out the window? When did we just decide, you know what? We're going out for a $300 dinner at this kind of nice place. It is a nice place. And you know what? I'm going to wear a t-shirt and flip-flops. And the t-shirt's probably just going to be it's not even going to be like a nice t-shirt. It's just going to be some random like 5K run t-shirt or whatever. Just the number of, and we weren't dressed up by I was in like a polo shirt and I think I was even wearing shorts, but it was like a dressy pair of shorts and a polo shirt, like that kind of thing. But no, I take it back. I actually was wearing one of my nice pairs of Mr. Turk pants and a button down, but still. But Mason was in a polo. But I'm just like, where, like no sense of decorum is not the right word. Like it's just, I don't know. Like it's not like I'm expecting people to show up in tux tails and ball gowns and all that kind of stuff. It was just surprising to me that people look like such shit for such an expensive meal. Also, the number of people who were there, it was crowded, and it's an expensive meal. Are people going into debt for this or what? Or do they just look like shit and they actually have money? Like, that's the part I do not understand. So, Mike wants to take Sterling to a hibachi. It's fun. What I actually want to do is, the new big thing is to do hibachi at your house. There are companies that come and they do it in like your backyard, your driveway, whatever. And you pay them like, I don't know, $1,000, whatever the amount is for it. And then you get this number of people and it covers all the food and sake and all that kind of stuff. I think you still have to bring your own wine and beer, but they do the sake. That sounds really fun to me because it's like at your house and you get your friends. You just want to do it outside, because I'll tell you this. all of us smelled of hibachi afterward. Like the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh, hibachi here. So, but just, and you can wear the t-shirt and flip-flops at the house. I'd still rather wear an actual shoe and something with a collar, but that's neither here nor there. What else? Oh, our Claire's DNA results came in, and my DNA results came in from Ancestry.com on, I think it was either Friday or Saturday. I think it was on Friday that they both came in. Claire's were supposed to come in on Friday. Mine were anticipated for Saturday. They came in at the same time as hers, pretty much. And mine was no great surprise. Mine was so fucking white. Whitey, white. And cold weather white, too. Like Scandinavia, the Baltics, anything. If it could touch that frozen ass Baltic Sea, which ironically is where I lived when I lived in Germany. I lived in a city called Kiel, which is on the Baltic Sea, and it's on their version of like the Panama Canal that connects the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. That's where I was. And then, oh, shut up. Let's give me a definition of the Baltic Sea. And then a lot of English and Irish, all that kind of stuff. Ironically, I am more Irish than I am German. Like, I thought that was hilarious. I am more Irish than German. And, but I am mostly, I think the number was like, I am like 65% Scandinavian or Baltic. Like, it is like insanely how concentrated it is. It's a wonder that I'm not translucent, honestly. How do I have any skin tone whatsoever? And I actually tan fairly well. I'm a little washed out right now because I got this big old ring light on me. But I don't burn terribly. So that's the Irish thing. And so I think it's got to be the Ghana. I'm 1% Ghanaian. God, I was correct. I said Ghanese at first. And a friend of mine whose husband is from Ghana was like, it's Ghanaian. Ghanaian. It's not Ghanan. It's Ghanaian, which is really hard to say. It's even harder to spell. I did look it up, though, and actually, Ghanese is a true term, but it's usually not applied to a person. It's like Ghanese cuisine, Ghanese culture, Ghanese music, that sort of thing. But yeah, anyway, cold weather white. I love it. Yeah, that's me. And it's hilarious because I hate cold weather. Like, I do not, although I'm on the edge of complaining about the heat right now because it is like 90% humidity outside, but I'm going to resist. And plus, I know in a week we're going to be in California in a beach house. I'll tell you all about that at some point too, but we're going to a beach house for almost 2 weeks outside of Oxnard or in Oxnard, California, which is between Malibu and Santa Barbara. Sounds nice, right? The name Oxnard sounds terrible, but that area of California is beautiful. And then Claire's DNA results were interesting because we've always been told that Claire is a quarter Japanese, that her birth mother's parents were Japanese and Hispanic, and that her birth dad was Hispanic, and we've met him before actually. But the results came back, and we also always thought Mason was like half Filipino or a quarter Filipino. When we did his a year ago, not an ounce of Asian blood in him. And guess what? For Claire, not an ounce of Asian blood in her either. And it had me wondering, I'm like, what? Like, how could both of them be so wrong? And maybe Asian people don't do Ancestry, but you would think that can't be the answer because Asian people in the United States do Ancestry and 23andMe and all that kind of stuff. So it would at least have some sort of cultural heritage or nationality or whatever. But here's the ironic thing, though, about Claire. So first of all, Claire's has no Japanese. She is Mexico and Spain mostly, and that's the two main areas. But on Ancestry, it can actually tell you like what region of it. So it's like for Mason's, he is from the Michoacan region, which is down south, and that's like where the avocados grow. It's also known for like a lot of like brutality and terrible cartels. It's really far south in Mexico. Claire's, ironically, listen to this. Claire's, her big like, this is where your people are from. not only historically, but like a big concentration of like your DNA is people who are from the Rio Grande Valley of Texas and northern Mexico. Isn't that funny? If you know me, so basically Claire is from the same place I grew up. How interesting is that? I told her that and she goes, really? Because we were just down there last year for my dad's funeral. I think the kids have only been down there that one time, and it was last May, late April, early May of 2022. So when we buried my dad down there. Last time I'd been down there, and we were driving around, and Claire goes, "Daddy, when are we going to see the nice part of town?" And I'm like, "There isn't one." So when I told her that that's where she's from, she's like, "Oh, well, poo on that." Um, and then we were talking about Todd and I were talking about this, and then actually Claire and I were talking about this in the car earlier today about how, like, why did they think they were Japanese, or why did they think Filipino, or whatever, like that sort of thing. And it got me, I was like, you know what? I mean, sometimes people like to think that they're more exotic than they are. And I was like, you know what? Even American, like white Americans do this too. I have so many friends who have been told stories that they are like part Cherokee, or they're part Algonquin Indian, or they're part whatever. It's usually Cherokee. I think that's just because of kind of where we are. I think the Cherokees, weren't they mostly like Oklahoma, like that was like the Midwest area. But anyway, so a lot of friends think that they're, and then they do these tests and they don't have an ounce of Native American blood in them either, right? So I was like, so that happens. It's not necessarily that anyone lied, or maybe maybe they originally lied a million years before and it just kind of carried back down the line. Maybe we misunderstood, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, Monica wants to do one of the tests. I assume that's what you're saying. I need to do that. I don't know exactly what that comment was about, but I assume that that's what it was about. Sandy has not been to a Benihana in so long. And go to the one, if you do go to Benihana, go to the one in North Dallas versus the one in Las Colinas. It's just a lot cuter. The one we went, so I've been to both in the last year or so, and we went to the Las Colinas one this time. It's a modern building. Like it's barely Japanese. The old one in North Dallas still looks, it has like you have to walk across a bridge over a koi pond, all the soji screens, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't look like just a fancy restaurant. It looks like an actual Japanese place. So that's what I would recommend, but it was fun. It's been years since I've been, my mom says, and she loved it. Yes, we did too. Like the kids are like, yeah, let's do that again some more, right? North Dallas. Yeah. That's the one. That's the better one at LBJ and Coit here in Dallas. When I was at church yesterday, change the subject. When I was at church yesterday, it was a really interesting. So do you ever, I don't know if it's me like projecting or if this is like the magic of going to church or whatever, but I feel like every time I go to church, which is maybe a few times a year, I actually enjoy church. I'm not gonna lie, I like going to church, but it's like the message, I like the singing. Although the singing Methodist hymns are hard. It's like everything has like 6 verses and they're just random words, and there's no like theme to, there's no chorus. Everything is just sung like it's like a fucking Taylor Swift song that doesn't have a chorus. It's just all like spoken word and all that kind of stuff, right? That is my little gripe about that. But I feel like every time I go, the pastor, minister, whatever the person is called, I think pastor is Methodist, yes. There's something in it that I kind of have like an aha moment. I'm like, oh, I really needed to hear that today, or that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, and maybe that's like every week. Maybe that's like the way that you are. That's the way they get you in, right? Eric is like, your social media is going to be full of ads for Bibles and rosaries after all your church talk today. I know. But there was the teaching on Sunday was about Sarah's laughter, is what the pastor called it. And it was about it's from the book of Genesis, which is Old Testament, OG stuff. One of the first stories in the Bible, actually, according to him. I don't know. It's been a while since I read the Bible. I've probably lost more Bibles than I've read, honestly, for being truthful. But so Abraham's wife Sarah overhears God talking to Abraham about something, and she laughs at its absurdity and all that kind of stuff. And then she and God get into an argument about, why'd you laugh? I didn't laugh, like a bunch of 6-year-olds, right? And but the message of that, according to Pastor Folkerth, is that laughter is even more important in like absurd situations and tough situations, and times when most people would lean on earnest versus levity. Like lighten the mood when things are heavy, lighten the mood when things are tough. Don't make things tougher and heavier. Lighten the mood, right? That's kind of the message of that, which is, I mean, that's me to a T, right? And it really started making me think about like this broadcast, Cooped Up, how it started. The first one I did was like a week into the pandemic, I think, and I was mainly doing it because I was going to lose my mind. It's like a form of therapy for me at this point, but I was going to lose my mind because I had not had external interaction with anyone other than my family. There's all of the news was so absurd. The way people were reacting was absurd. Like all of this, and not that any of it was unwarranted absurdity. It was just so different, like from one night to the next, right? And then just laughing at it really made me think about like, that's really how this came to be. Yes, she laughed because she was too old to have a baby after God told her she would. Yes, Mom, that is exactly the story. Sarah was 100 years old, and God said she was going to have a boy, and she is barren. She'd never had a kid ever, and had tried and never did. Like that was the story. But yes, and that's what she laughed at. But that is like me to a T about laughing about the COVID shutdown and the way people are reacting and kind of the silly take on all of it. And that's what I got. I was like, okay, maybe that is, I don't know, maybe what I'm doing is biblical. I mean, if we're going to be boastful, I'm kidding. That was way too far. But anyway, it just got me thinking about that and how much I liked it. So, and actually, if you want to see the sermon, if you go to Kessler Park United Methodist Church's Facebook, you can also see my speech when I about cried. They broadcast all of their services on Facebook Live, and so it would be the one from this Sunday. And the only other thing I had on my list, and it's been bouncing on my list for a couple of days, is can we talk about this Mar-a-Lago bathroom? I'm not even going to be talking. I'm not even talking about the politics of it. I'm not talking about like the willful deceit or the concealment or the complete lack of security or anything like that, right? I'm talking about this fucking bathroom. So Mar-a-Lago looks like a really nice place, right? It's in Palm Beach. It looks beautiful on the outside. It's got that kind of like Spanish style that I adore. Similar to Santa Barbara on the other coast. Adore Santa Barbara style. Palm Beach style. Love it, love it, love it. Everything about it. Sign me up twice a day on Sundays. But they show this bathroom where they're hiding these boxes of top secret things, of nuclear codes and war plans and all this kind of stuff, right? And again, I'm not commentating on that part specifically, but just looking at this bathroom, I'm like, does the whole of Mar-a-Lago look that shitty on the inside? Is the outside the only thing that looks nice? Or is this just like a fluke bath? Like, was this bathroom like in the service area? Like, I just don't understand, because it looked like, so first of all, it was a tension rod with just a lame ass shower curtain across it, right? And there's no shame in having a shower curtain. I know a lot of people do, but in luxury homes, most people do not have shower curtains. In luxury homes, you either have like a glass door that slides or that opens, or you don't have a door at all, and it's just kind of an open area. Like I think in one of our new bathrooms, I think it just kind of is open on the backside because it's such a huge shower, right? So tension rod with a shower curtain on it, right? And And then just like just the toilet sitting out in the room also, which is very unusual for a luxury home as well. Like the most luxury homes, the toilet, and not even luxury homes, like newer homes too, the toilet is in its own room. It's in a water closet, right? So that you're not just sitting there balls out, butt out, whatever, when you're sitting down to poop or pee. And it was just like right up next to the cabinet. And then the cabinet looked like something that someone went to like Home Goods and bought, or Horchow Finale, or Wayfair, or Home Depot, or something. It did not look bespoke at all. It just looked like a cheesy like reproduction of like a dresser from France or something, but not in all of those things sound wonderful, but not in a wonderful way, right? So it's just like I saw it, and they did have a chandelier. Some people were like criticizing the chandelier part. I'm a big believer that you can put a chandelier anywhere you want to fucking put a chandelier. I think my house has like 6 chandeliers in it, and one of them is in the laundry. I put one in the laundry room because I love chandeliers. I think they're beautiful. I think you can have beauty wherever you want to have it, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to criticize that part. We did take some out also, but like my sunroom has one, dining room has one. We have kind of a more modern one in the kitchen table area. There used to be another one in the den. We took it out because it didn't match. There was one in the entryway. We took it out because it hung too low and everyone would hit their head on it. But I've got, like I said, I got one in my laundry room. I love them. But Eric is saying that a bathroom is appallingly tacky. Yes, and Sandy said if they are storing government documents, it's probably not heavily used or even used at all. Well, here's the thing, though. It was a bathroom. It was a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago before that, though. So this is where I want to know, like, which bathroom was it? Like, what was the intention? But boxes out of it, like no boxes in the room. Who was using that bathroom, or would have, even before Trump owned it then, who would have used that bathroom? Because it's terrible. And it was like total builder's grade, as Raven says. Yes, not even builder's grade. Builders tend to go basic. That was intentionally, which this does track for Trump, it was intentionally gaudy, but then also cheap in like the wrong places. Like that's what I just don't get. Eric, I'm glad I poured a glass of wine. I'll pretend it's communion. Oh, my mom is saying there was some pretty interesting stuff to read while you're using that toilet. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that last week, and I got it. It was on my list over there, and I didn't have a card, and if it's not on the card, I don't remember. So, alrighty. Well, I need to go because I got to leave at 5:30. Claire has roller derby practice tonight. It's been a very long day. So Claire had day 1 of 2 for her dyslexia. She has to every 3 years get her dyslexia reevaluated, or I don't know what the right term is. And we're doing it today and tomorrow. It's 2 4-hour sessions, exhausting, up in fucking like northeast Dallas. It's at like what was it, like Forest and 635, which is also not a lovely neighborhood. But it was up there, and so just getting there this morning, it was not hard because it was a holiday, Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. But tomorrow I dread it. And then also I have to go up there and back, and then up there and back, because it's too long of a thing to just stay up there. Anyway, hey Janet, how you doing? Alrighty, well, you can watch on the repeat anything you missed. So it's time for me to go. I got to take my daughter to roller derby practice. I love you. It's important to know you are loved. I love that you watch this. Thank you so much. This is always good therapy for me, and I love connecting with y'all. Take care of yourself. Don't should yourself to death. No good comes from should. And I will see you most likely tomorrow at 4:30 for another episode of Cooped Up Live. Should I say, talk to you later. Bye.